into a classroom. Who they are is irrelevant. But the Muslim was me. In my attempt to educate some tiny, sticky humans, I read them classic Muslim literature. How the Grinch Stole Ramadan. One fish, two fish, red fish, blue falafel. And Horton hears a who and immediately reports it to the Department of Homeland Security. But 20 minutes later, I got protested. And not even by Dr. Seuss for plagiarism, but by this bottle blonde boob named Susan. She said, "Muslim, go back to your country." So I went back to Starbucks. Apparently teaching kids Islam is dangerous, and you don't have to blame Susan for that. She's not a real person. But there are people like her. Even though Islam is supposed to be taught as part of a social studies class before you graduate high school, the December 18th, 2015 Washington Post explains, when schools have tried teaching Islam, parents retaliated in states like Texas, Tennessee, Virginia, Maryland, and Florida. Considering that the March 2016 Ford Foundation explains, Islamophobia in America today is worse than it was right after 9/11. We need to fight that fear with education. So let's put Islam back where it belongs. Food trucks. I mean the classroom. Causes, effects, and solutions. Because over the course of my educational career, I've been forced to learn hundreds of useless historical dates. 1215, 1492, 1738! But the only Muslim date consistently taught in schools is September 11th, 2001. That's my birthday. Full disclosure, I'm not exactly a good Muslim. I've had bacon, celebrated the birth of Christ, and the only pilgrimage I've ever been on is to Twin Liquors. But I'm also not the worst Muslim. I've never killed a man. And there are Muslims who have. Let's talk causes, fear, and lies. First, people are afraid if you teach kids Islam, they'll turn into Muslims. Breitbart on February 2nd, 2016 explains, a family is suing a Maryland high school for teaching their daughter the 5 pillars of Islam, saying it would disparage her Christian faith, which is ridiculous. Teaching kids biology doesn't make them convert to biologism. And what would that even look like? In the beginning there was Darwin, and Darwin was good. Praise the Father, the Son, and the Holy Monkey. Can I get an Allahu Akbar? But this isn't just one family and one high school and one Maryland. The December 15th, 2015 Atlantic explains, in largely white Christian counties, fear of Islamic indoctrination is why they don't teach it. Meaning, we are afraid that the Muslims are coming, the Muslims are coming! I learned that in an American history class. Next, a long time ago, a bunch of old white men proclaimed the separation of church and state. But that's such a lie. Let's try this out. Hi, I don't think we've ever met. What's your name?
Jackson.
Jackson. How many years ago was Jesus born?
2016, right?
Yeah, exactly. What year is it?
0.
No, it's 20. Just like my good friend Jackson, we don't realize that Christianity gets reinforced in very subtle ways around us. As students, we decorate Christmas trees, we learn to find biblical references in literature, and we pledge our allegiance to one nation under God. And I'm not saying these things are bad, I'm saying we should call it what it is. Separation of mosque and state. Now, what if we taught about Muslims? and all the amazing things they brought us, like universities, clocks, soap. Jackson, are you happy I smell good? Do you know who you should thank? Muhammad. One is by land, two is by sea, three is by terrorist attack. It's exhausting being the brown Paul Revere. We shouldn't be afraid of Muslims because more Americans have been killed by toddlers than by Muslims. Okay, I really want for there to be a reality TV show called Terrorists and Tiaras. Instead of Honey Boo Boo, you have Honey Boom Boom. After season 2, and reality TV finally finds its hard limit on exploding babies. Effects. First, when we don't teach about Islam, we whitewash American history, which pushes Muslims further away. Think about any American history class. Columbus finds a country. We throw away some British tea. McDonald's serves breakfast all day. Even though the February 9th, 2015 New York Times explains, Muslims have been in this country since 1528. Encompassed 20% of the enslaved African population, and were so important that Thomas Jefferson owned a Quran. He also owned people. But all of this gets left out of the classroom. We always talk about how the best way to prevent terrorism is to engage Muslims. But when we don't teach about Islam, we give Muslims a feeling of, I don't have a place here because I don't have a past here. Next, we've become too Islamophobic to function, which is exactly what the terrorists want. For example, the APA explains how Islam was talked about in Oklahoma City led 50% of their elementary kids to report clinical levels of PTSD. And you know what those kids turn into? Adults who can vote for Donald Trump. Even though last I checked, there are 3.3 million Muslims in this country and only one Donald Trump, praise Allah. So who's easier to ban now, Johnny? The 2015 book Faith Ed explains, we've become afraid of knowledge. Y'all, there are plenty of things to be afraid of. Spiders, the word moist. Drop ranks. But being afraid of knowledge leaves us unprepared to deal with the challenges of the world around us. Last December, a children's choir gathered in Ottawa to perform the traditional Muslim song, Tala al-Badru alayna, in Arabic, to welcome the Syrian refugees. They chose this song because they were taught in school that it commemorates when the Prophet himself sought refuge. So here's my theory. I think Canada breeds good humans. Like Justin Trudeau. Ooh, that is one good human. Solutions. First, we've got to push our schools to teach about Islam. And you know who else agrees? The Department of Education. Yeah, it's what happens when you have a Muslim president. A February 2016 article by the Education Action Group explains, we need to teach Muslim cultural practices and history to promote an unbiased learning environment. So, I put together this curriculum. I encourage you to read it and share it with your local schools. It comes with really fun things if you don't like reading, like stickers and pages from my Islamic coloring book. The top comment on that article, by the way, read, Muslim cultural practices like female genital mutilation, killing people, rape. These are the kind of people that exist when we don't teach. They're also the kind of people that could really benefit from an Islamic coloring book. Second, Second, we've got to get over our fears. If you think learning what La ilaha illallah means makes you no longer a Christian, then your faith wasn't that strong to begin with. Which is why I've been working on a Facebook page called the Anti-Islamophobia Network to share videos, articles, stories, literally anything to fight violent Islamophobia. Get on Facebook, like the page, tell your friends. The first video is of my dad dancing to Hotline Bling. Oh, the world needs to see this. Honestly, as adorable as my dad is, I remember how scary 9/11 was for him. His name is Osama, but he was called Bin Laden one too many times, so in 2001, we just started calling him Sam. 2001. And they say Islamophobia today is worse. We've got to reverse this horrifying trend, and the way we do that is with education. So I told that encyclopedia of human sadness, Susan, to sit down and listen to the causes, effects, and solutions to our neglect of Islamic education. Y'all, I'm not a scary human. My favorite things in life are cupcakes, which are going to kill me, and my cats, which have chlamydia. So go fight the real terrorists, the cats that gave my cats chlamydia.
I know you can't tell by just looking at me, but I'm an African American. Okay, well, obviously I'm black, but not like Earth, Wind, and Fire, Soul Food, OJ didn't do it black. I mean, like, basket on the head, coming to America, Angelina Jolie would adopt me black. Soup for dinner every night, dashikis and rapas in every family photo, and lots of quality time with my drunk Uncle Chungo. While my childhood with Cameroonian parents may seem unique, according to the April 9, 2015 Washington Post, rapidly growing numbers of black immigrants have reshaped the overall black population in the United States. And yet, America can't tell the difference between the Tyrones and the Tundes. The Felicias and the Fatimas. The Kendricks and the Kunta Kintes. The April 15, 2015 Dallas News explains, despite all the Africans coming to America, nobody wants to talk about it. Like, shh, maybe if we don't bring it up, they'll just go away. But as the African immigrant population grows, we're failing to address the unique challenges they face in education, economics, and immigration. So, how do we all stand together and sing Kumbaya in a circle? Also, do any of you actually know what Kumbaya means? No? We got a lot of work to do. Let's look at the problems and causes so that we can reach a solution that makes every African immigrant say, "Wumay!" That's Cameroonian for, yeah! Before meeting my family, my friend Lauren wanted to learn some Cameroonian words. So I taught her, Njila, how are you? And Abena, I'm well. When Uncle Chungong said, Njila, Lauren replied, a banana! Some people African. Some people Afro need to stick to English. Thus, two problems face African immigrants in America: poverty and deportation. First, the November 23rd, 2014 group reports African immigrants have the highest unemployment and poverty rate of any foreign-born group. Okay, so you know how your parents are always like, eat your Brussels sprouts, they're starving children in Africa. Joke's on you, Mom, they're starving in America too. But haters always say, immigrants are coming to take our jobs. African immigrants over here like, where they at though? African immigrants have so much trouble getting hired, they're walking into job interviews like, look at me. Walk anywhere and say it like, look, Justin Timberlake, look at me. I am the wife now. Second, have you noticed how Donald Trump hasn't called to deport all the African immigrants? Good guy, right? Turns out, he doesn't have to. The February 26, 2015 Huffington Post explains, they're already getting deported at 5 times the rate of every other immigrant group. Oh, and by the way, if Donald becomes president, send me back, please. How it is. Y'all want to deport the African people, but you love the African lions. Ooh, we love Seriously? We're gonna act like Tarzan didn't happen? He's exactly the kind of African that wouldn't get deported. A white man. Back to Lion King. Now, Zidania! Let's talk about the causes now. Look, Simba, everything the light touches is racist. Two causes. The U.S. refuses to recognize African education and can be super racist. First, the May 18, 2015 Root reports African immigrants are more likely to hold a bachelor's degree than any other immigrant group, but have the hardest time integrating into the American workforce because America doesn't recognize foreign degrees. Oh, because clearly American education is the best around. Raven Simone says she's from all the continents in Africa. And that's why I hate her. Next, racism. If you are tired of hearing about this point, the exit is located in the back. Please secure your own white privilege before helping your child with theirs. The May 4, 2015 Huffington Post reports 26% of all immigrants are unauthorized, but only 6% of black immigrants are. So why would they be deported 5 times more often? I wonder what the reason could be. Oh my God, is it the Dashikis? Nah, white people love that crap. The previously cited Root argues, black immigrants suffering significantly higher deportation shows that racial profiling is at play. Now, as different as black Americans and African immigrants may be, we have something in common. America doesn't want us here. Which is really confusing because the last time y'all had Africans on boats, you really wanted us here. But respecting people who are different from you is really not that hard for most people, except for Donald Trump, but is he really a person? In Cameroon, we would say Ngaga. That means no. We'd also call him an Ebele Wuteo Konfunya, which means, I'll tell you after the round. Meanwhile, 2 solutions. Recognize African education and fight African deportation. First, it's like Americans watch one infomercial about Africans and think they've done their part by donating $1. No. You can do your part by getting a smart immigrant a job they deserve. Give me the $1. Is an organization that works to help immigrants find jobs that recognize the value of their education. By donating to Upwardly Global, or even signing up to be a volunteer, you can help African immigrants get a job that matches their skill. Because no neurosurgeon should have to be your Uber driver. Except for Ben Carson, and he can drive it straight down. Second, we need to advocate for immigration reform that includes African African immigrants. Black Alliance for Just Immigration is an organization that focuses on issues specific to the Black immigrant community. So, we're starting a Black Immigrant Lives Matter movement. And the first person to hold up an all immigrant lives matter sign, I will go all Uncle Scar on your ass. But seriously, I'm proud to be the culturally diverse African American that I am today. If it weren't for my mom struggling through 6 years of pharmacy school, or God forbid, if she'd ever been deported, my life would be nothing like it is today. She had to push through a system that was working against her. So, excuse me, I'm gonna need y'all to get your act together. We gave you Akon. We gave you Lupita. Shit, we gave you Obama. We looked at the problems, causes, and solutions to our ignorance of the African immigrant community, and we even learned some clutch Cameroonian vocab along the way. Now it's time to sing Kumbaya! Okay, well, it turns out Kumbaya is just about as African as Kwanzaa. Y'all didn't know that wasn't African? Oh my God. See me after the round. We got so much left to talk about.
Keegan, vote.
Growing up, my parents didn't know if I was gonna make it to 18. Oh God, no, I wasn't terminally ill. They were just gonna kill me. Because I was the freaking worst. However, I wasn't formally diagnosed with Asperger's until the age of 18. So, growing up without intervention, I quickly learned, stop talking about which president had the most dogs. I mean, if you want to know, maybe later. Autism.org, January 27th, 2016 explains, our rhetoric surrounding autism and development has become so rote and practiced that we are treating every child and adult the same way, as needing to be cured rather than supported. But you can't cure Asperger's. That's like telling children they don't get burgers, or telling adults they don't get ass. In fact, Autism Speaks, the leading charity organization, for autism research and development, only provides information for parents and advocates. So autism isn't speaking. Middle-aged white women are speaking. Again. And then they try to turn my life into BuzzFeed videos, like Keegan was allowed to go to a speech tournament. And he made prolonged eye contact. Wow, look at him. He fits in. But you'll never believe what happens next. Except you will, because it's a thesis statement. The Autism Asperger Network states that 1 in 5 adults with autism are high functioning, which means we need to start shifting our rhetoric from curing to being more inclusive, to ensure that self-help permeates our discourse, our actions, and even our inspiration porn. So, let's start here. Let's start here by talking about autism in ways that don't suck, with the causes, effects, and solutions to the inhuman way we're treating equality that makes me quite the catch on Farmers Only. Schindlers, Nixons, buckets! Lists are an integral part of the autistic experience. So, I've compiled a list of the top things I've been told since turning 18. 1. Wow, I never would have guessed. You know, I get what people are going for with this, but to be fair, you also guessed we were going to cure wind before posting outside. No, really, this time it's going to be different. Autism is a checklist, and cure rhetoric. Traditionally, autism gets diagnosed the way a disease might. You take a list of symptoms, and then you check off stuff you don't want to deal with. So, doctors look for frequent tantrums, or a lack of eye contact, or being white, but super good at math. However, Dr. Barry M. Prezant argues in his book, Uniquely Human, most of the behaviors we label autistic aren't actually deficits at all. They're strategies that we use to better regulate ourselves emotionally. Like Activia, but for your brain. Speaking of vague sexist undertones and women eating yogurt alone, the Spectrum Group on October 15th, 2015 explains, women are 3 times more likely than men to have autism, yet men are twice as likely to be diagnosed. I guess doctors just assume the lack of eye contact is women who know their damn place. I'm not sexist. My mom's a woman. These women end up diagnosed with depression, anxiety, or eating disorders. Because in our rush to cure, we overlook the fact that these behaviors are not causes. They are effects. So lashing out is not a cause. This paragraph is a cause. So health gets misplaced because we say don't cope instead of teaching people how to cope better. Second, major charities like Autism Speaks, the Autism Asperger Network, and I really like trains.xxx all focus on cure rhetoric. And the first one even supports anti-vaxxers. In fact, the top tabs on Autism Speaks website include diagnosis, treatment, symptoms, and is this really worth not getting measles? This mirrors the tabs at the top of the American Cancer Society website, as well as the site for foreign accent syndrome, which admittedly is a support group for kids who did HI in high school. And you would need support too if you spent 4 years on an event that means nothing. This is not to say these charities have bad intentions. But when rhetoric focuses on curing over fostering independence, we stigmatize autism, rather than treating it for what it truly is. Just another way of viewing the world around us. And like all of the humor on Big Bang Theory. Because Sheldon Cooper is appropriating Asperger's. He is performing ass face. 2. I think my dog has Asperger's. Because he never says anything. You know, I feel like licking his butt and then licking your face. Well, that says everything. Two effects. Autism becomes who you are, and everybody's fave persuasion word. No, it's not a petition. It's dehumanization. First, time and time again, we are bombarded by these headlines like autistic student shot traveling downtown, even when the story has nothing to do with autism. And the shot was just because the kid's diabetic. This isn't even news. My entire high school experience was leading up to that. This sort of rhetoric is allowing for unacceptable and dehumanizing mindsets. My university library has like 100 books on autism, including such lovely titles as Autism, Not All It's Cracked Up to Be. Which of course raises the question, what the hell is it cracked up to be? And I wish my kids had cancer. Good. Of these lovely reads, the only one that ever mentions personal agency is the Goodwill Training Manual. Well, that's just about making $3 an hour. I mean, come on, what am I? An adjunct / waitress? 6 Chinese kids stacked in a trench coat making iPhones? A woman whose husband makes $5 an hour? Wage gap is real, y'all. Thank you. This kind of rhetoric has allowed for unacceptable media responses. Like last November, when Dustin Hicks was murdered by his own mother. The news media went so far as to refer to this as a mercy killing. They placed all of their focus on his autism and didn't mention his very real life. Thank God I have Asperger's. Because if not, I would look really sad right now. Are your parents cool with it? You know, cooler than my grandpa was when he met my new Oriental girlfriend. And then he congratulated her on putting up a good fight in Korea. And Nam. To which my girlfriend responded, "Don't forget Pearl Harbor." But seriously, my parents treat me with the same pained indifference that they always have. And I could not be more appreciative, because they are actively showing me what it means to treat people with autism like they're just other people. Which, get this, we are. So solutions. First, let autism speak. Dr. Paul Heckler of the Virginia Tech University argues autism is a profoundly rhetorical phenomenon. So truly, the best way to enact change is to talk about it better. Don't say autistic. Say person with autism. Or, if you want to be really bazonkers, try saying something like, I don't know, their name. Or shit, Sweet Cheeks works. Love feeling good about my body. No matter what people are dealing with, just recognize they are not defined by it. If being in Gainesville has taught me anything, the only thing that defines you is your immigration status and your wheel-to-car ratio. And how pure your meth is. And how many white suits you own. Guys, Peter Pulver wins! Yeah! All right! Give it up for Peter Pulver! Second, more agency. Focusing on solutions for high-functioning adults is an amazing way to enact change throughout the community. And, oh my God, I just remembered another thing I learned in Gainesville. Marco Rubio will write a freaking form letter for literally anything. It explicitly states that he didn't know what we were. Focusing on solutions for higher functioning adults is an amazing way to enact change throughout our community. And there's already some charities out there which place a high-functioning adult with more severely impacted children. And there's amazing blogs on the internet, like 366 Days of Autism, which are adding this human perspective. And honestly, if you need another human perspective, please just talk to me. Whether it's after the round, or on Facebook, or in a bathroom stall during an after-dinner poop. Because while I assume you all have boundaries, I do not. Try me. Today, we discuss the causes, effects, and solutions to stop curing and start living. I'm super lucky my parents let me live and vaccinated me. Because honestly, polio, not for me. So, in conclusion, it was Calvin Coolidge, he had 12 dogs. Well, that's something we should all strive to check off a bucket list.
Solem-Pfeifer. My grandma died after a 10-year battle with her DVR. In the hospital, she said it was this hippie pope that finally killed her. The doctor said it was the lung cancer. I guess we'll never know for sure. You see, my family is German Catholic, and we're not great at communication. Growing up, I was taught that feelings are for love songs and Lutherans. So now that she's gone, I can't help but think about all the things I never asked my grandma about. Like why none of Grandpa's war uniforms have the American flag on them? Weird, right? I also wish I would have asked her how she would have wanted to die. Because according to a 2015 Center for Disease Control study, even though 7 out of 10 Americans would like to die in the comfort of their own home, less than 20% actually do. In fact, 70% of Americans die in hospitals, spending their final days enduring painful, aggressive treatment that the New Yorker of May 11, 2015 calls an epidemic of unnecessary care. It's time for us to rethink our approach to end-of-life treatment, to stop this costly, invasive care, and to stop dying people from getting so much attention. It's like they had their time, guys. Today we'll look at the problems, causes, and solutions to America's end-of-life care crisis. We need to eliminate the stigma of talking about our own deaths. Because my parents didn't spend $2,000 on tap lessons for me not to get to dance on someone's grave. That one's for you, Bill Cosby. Yeah, I know he's not dead yet, but a girl can dream. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, death is coming for us all. Not me specifically, because I'm actually on this amazing baby food cleanse right now. It's really cutting down on my bone weight. But there are two problems with how the rest of you are going to die. First, it's unnecessarily painful. And second, it's incredibly expensive. First, aggressive treatment for dying patients causes pain that is completely unnecessary, like T-pain. Sorry to both the T-pains out there in the world. Frankly, a perfect example of this comes from the CNN of March 5th, 2015, which explains that CPR represents an example of this flawed system, as it has infinitesimal odds of adding more than 48 hours to a patient's life, but overwhelming odds of causing suffering, which is why 95% of doctors have do not resuscitate directives, compared to just 15% of citizens. To be clear, there is a time and a place for CPR. That shit got me my first kiss. I refuse to give someone CPR unless they would kiss me. Yeah, 19 was a weird year. But when we say we want everything possible done to prolong the life of a loved one, we often don't consider the painful tolls of things like intubation, dialysis, and Horcruxes. Aggressive treatment for patients in their final days robs families of precious moments to say goodbye. And more importantly, I told you so. Second, it turns out dying is super expensive, which adds insult to injury. Technically insult to death. According to the Washington Post of January 25th, 2016, or the year zero if you ask Jackson. Medical bills related to terminal illnesses are the leading cause of personal bankruptcy in the United States. But despite this, alternatives like hospice care remain widely underutilized, even though they're far more comfortable and affordable. I think it's because hospice is just a weird word. Hospice. It's like a snake whispering. According to The Atlantic of January 10th, 2016, in the US, a quarter of Medicare spending goes to the 5% of patients in their final year of life. Medical decisions shouldn't have to be about choosing the least racist grandparent to spend your life savings on. Sorry, Grandma Solem. You're in a better place now. Oh, she moved to New Mexico. God, you people are morbid. As I walk through the shadow of the Valley of Death... No, seriously. I want to know where you guys think I'm going with this. The Lord's Prayer or that Coolio song? I'm not very religious, but I am very white. The answer? Weird Al, Amish Paradise. Don't put me in a box. Now that we've explored the problems with how Americans are dying, we can look to the causes, which are twofold. 2014 Kaiser Health News report, less than 27% of adults over the age of 40 have had conversations with their family or physicians about their end-of-life care. Well, a little more than that if you count my grandma saying, "Fine, just leave me here to die." Every time I ask to be excused from the dinner table early. Again, we're Catholic. Look, this cultural avoidance starts early. Like when we let children believe that their favorite childhood characters are gonna live forever. Garfield was created in 1987. We're just supposed to think that a cat with a BMI of 78 is 37 years old? You're not fooling anyone, Jim Davis! The good news is, if that was true, the Ninja Turtles would still be fine. As long as that ooze wasn't cancerous. Shit, yeah, they're dead too. It's uncomfortable to have to talk to your parents about how they're going to die. Just like when they have to talk to us about having sex. But in both cases, it's important to talk about the right time to let yourself get hard. Second, according to a 2015 Institute of Medicine report, our healthcare system defaults to continue all technological care for dying patients in order to fulfill financial incentives. That sounds heartless, but I get it. If TV has taught me anything, to be clear, TV has taught me literally everything, it's that patients have to suffer so that hot young doctors can realize the depth of their feelings for other hot young doctors. But according to old ugly doctors at Stanford University, in their 2015 medical report, they found 80% of patients said they would rather avoid frequent hospitalization in their final days. Despite this, 60% of oncologists admitted to recommending treatments they didn't think would work, without telling their patients as much. Moral of the story, don't go to doctors. Ever. For anything. For more on this subject, please see my blog, Protect, Don't Inject. How vaccines made me bad at math. It was going to be the topic of this speech, but then I talked to Keegan, and I was like, oh, fine, I'll do the death thing. Become an uncomfortably long process, like an HBO theme song. Get it over with. But it doesn't need to be this way. In fact, death can be as easy as falling asleep. Shh, your fight is over, my sweet knight. What's that, Bill Cosby? There's also a governmental and personal solution? Fuck it, let's go with that. Initially, states need to make end-of-life conversations an integral part of our healthcare system. According to NPR of June 15th, 2015, last year, Oregon created POLST forms, or physician orders for life-sustaining treatment. Forms made easily accessible to seniors in places like retirement homes, hospitals, and buried beneath the hash browns at Old Country Buffet. The directives are simple. Patients can request or refuse CPR, ask for limited intervention or full ICU treatment. And this innovative measure within the state of Oregon is proving that thoughtful public policy is the second best tool we have for dealing with these difficult issues of life and death. Note to self, trademark Grim Reefer. For more information on Grim Reefer, please find me at the after party after I've had a couple beers. Every state has a responsibility to to make it this easy and accessible for patients to legally decide what kind of care they would like in their death. Also to be able to decide which secrets they would like dramatically revealed at their funerals. My sister will know what hit her. Second, now is the time for us to start talking about how we would like to die. And to ask our family members, how would you like to die? Less aggressive. More casual. That's horse. Hey man, how would you like to die? To get the conversation started, I have a list of questions created by the hospice nonprofit Engage with Grace, which ironically would not respond to my emails. Ask your parents how they feel about CPR, what they want their death to look like, or if they've ever buried any treasure. It never hurts to ask. Talk early and talk often, because it is so much easier to have these conversations when everyone is fine than when someone is in critical condition. I've told my loved ones how I plan to die. Drowning in student loans. Also probably still using my ex's Netflix account. I'm gonna have to watch Chopped somehow. Unfortunately, this solution comes with me, as I specifically told my roommates I would stop taking our furniture for mercy killings. Today we looked at the problems, causes, and solutions to America's end-of-life care crisis. When we confront dying as families and communities, death is just the next great adventure. Or it's a fathomless black abyss of unbeing. One or the other.
I'm walking home from my African American history class already fed the hell up from getting the nervous side eye from my predominantly white male class. Or it was constipation. I don't know, white guilt constipation look the same. But I'm already fired up and I have no filter, so when this guy walks towards me with these two cute little black bugs, all I could say is, oh, black bugs matter, don't they? Don't they, don't they, don't they? When I tell you without hesitation, this grown man goes, oh, they're not like Black Lives Matter pugs, they're more like civil rights pugs. They're good boys. So I went to the only place that gives me answers and a spirit, Chipotle. As she's scooping out my not big enough portion of black beans, she also scoops out Dr. Frederick C. Harris, Professor of Political Science and African American History at Columbia University. My God. Dr. Frederick, this is for black beans, not black deans. He writes in his 2015 article in Dissent magazine that in the last century, black activism has been harked back to the 1960s, the glory days. But this comparison is nostalgic at best. However, according to an August 15, 2015 Gallup poll, they found that 76% of Americans believe that the Black Lives Matter movement is too violent, and thus ineffective when compared to its civil rights movement counterpart. I'm sorry, Gallup, did you survey like America or a giant struggle bus? Headed down a struggle road to struggle City McVille. Full of people who are struggling to understand that you can't place the expectations of the civil rights movement on the Black Lives Matter movement. They're two completely different movements. The civil rights movement fixed things like de jure racism, Jim Crow laws, but it left things like de facto racism, racism for racism's sake, wide open. And if we don't stop comparing them, we will never move on. So, let's look at the problems, causes, and solutions to why telling 41.7 million black people and their white allies to simmer down is the worst idea ever. We are not Hamburger Helper. We don't need to simmer. Speaking of Hamburger Helper, there's this really beefy guy in my African American history class. His name's Joe. Sometimes when I think about him at night, I like to call him Sloppy Joe. Hey. That we should go to McDonald's and do some protests for Black Lives Matter there, but I'm so awkward, all I could think of to yell was, mixed systematic racism! Problems, there are two. We're comparing apples to oranges and our efforts aren't really fruitful. But first, we're comparing apples to oranges. Yes, both movements have ultimately the same goal, but they're two completely different battles. Let me put it to you in terms that communicators would understand. The civil rights movement was a policy fight. The Black Lives Matter movement is a value fight. I got 7 debaters in the room. Cool. I got you though. In his 2015 book, The Art of Public Speaking, wow, much relevance, very topical. He states, a policy fight is whether something should or should not be enacted, like a Jim Crow law. And a value is the justification of something, like the moral justification of the brutal beatings and murders of black bodies through police brutality. We can't mix that up. That's way too clumsy. That's about as clumsy as... Remember those 1980s sitcom intros? Da, 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 da. Second, now because of this awkward fruit salad, our rhetoric is awful. The black community is now just one giant cluster duck, which if you can imagine, is like a cluster of ducks. The New York Times on January 2nd, 2016 explains, in the year 2015, 1,134 young black men were killed in police brutality attacks. Yet according to the aforementioned Gallup poll, 46% of white Americans believe that black civil rights are no longer an issue in this country. So the black community is stuck in this weird dichotomy where externally we're being told our anger isn't justified, while internally our black activists are saying, act now. So what do? We cluster duck all over the place. Speaking of ducks, we play duck, duck racist in my African American history class. Sometimes we separate it with, duck, duck, Trump. It gets a little awkward because I keep picking on Kevin. Well, Kevin, maybe you should wear All Lives Matter t-shirts to a BSA meeting. I thought Kevin was my #1 racist, but he actually got bumped up after this little white lady I met today at the CVS. Let's call her Samantha. I'm walking through CVS with my Hispanic teammate, Alberto. What's up? And we walk through after getting some pantyhose, and the alarm goes off. I turn around, I'm black. And Samantha goes, oh no, it's okay, I just wanted to see you jump. Samantha, it's not that big of a deal. broad strokes, and second, Fober, which I'll explain later. But first, broad strokes. I can't walk down my campus without hearing, well, Rachel, I'll be nicer to those Black Lives Matter activists if they stayed out of my airports and my highways and my convenience. A personal interview with Patrice Calor, co-founder of the Black Lives Matter movement on February 2nd, 2016, she broke this down perfectly. The romantic notion that the civil rights movement was full of peaceful, benevolent black folk who politely asked the white patriarchy to stop oppressing them. And the patriarchy obliged. It's funny how we pick our black history like a Spotify playlist, exchanging what we want, when we want, just so our white friends can feel a little groovy. Something stronger. But because of this broad strokes, we've eliminated our black history that is true to us. And second, Fober, or what I like to call fear of black rage, which has been around since the late 18th century. This irrational fear that white people think black people are just going to wake up one day and realize that racism and slavery happened. Damn. Because of this irrational fear, it's created what I like to call respectability politics. In the November 29, 2015 article, The Rise of Respectability Politics, it states, it's a governing philosophy in which society tries to erase the bad traits of African Americans. Kind of like an unfortunate Etch-a-Sketch. Bye-bye, Ebonics. Then there's that part in the corner that you can't get, so you just keep swiveling. I know, I'm frustrated too. W.E.B. Du Bois in his book, The Souls of Black Folk, asks a question that pictures this perfectly. How does it feel to always be seen as black and a problem, even in your advocacy? How to survive an African American history class. Step 1, don't get angry. Step 2, don't be black. I'm failing the class. The solutions are easier. They are first, specificity, and second, consistency. But first, specificity. We must realize that specific problems require specific solutions. And that means specific movements. Jonathan Christensen from Cambridge University explains in January of 2016, a movement follows a model that is this: emergence, like the hashtag Black Lives Matter in late 2014. Coalescence, people who like your idea getting together. Bureaucracy, giving those people jobs. And finally, decline, based on the success or the failure of the movement. The Black Lives Matter movement hasn't succeeded, but it also hasn't failed, which means that you can still join the movement, and I encourage you to do it. I have cards. They say, but why Black Lives Matter? Hasn't that been done before? And then you get a stank face from Beyonce because don't try us. On the back, there's conversation starters about the Black Lives Matter movement. Do engage in dialogue with your friends. But if that's too uncomfortable for you and you need to ask something that you think might be offensive, please email me at notyourmamacivil-rights-movement@gmail.com. And I will be happy to answer any of your questions or quell any of your scariness. You can have the first one, it's a little moist. Like consistent as the 3 black women in this round who will not be wearing heels. Back to the 1960s and relate in some way, they weren't successful because they were peaceful. They were successful because they were consistent. Consistently asking the powers that be to take them seriously. And non-black people, we need your help. This cannot fall on our shoulders. Just because you think that we can drink from the same water fountain doesn't mean this problem is fixed. We need you. So I encourage this entire community, get out there and spread your voices. If you like to organize a movement. On the card there's a link where you can find a chapter in your area. Write. Look at all of you in this room. I know you can write. Write your booties off. Dang it, booties was supposed to be serious. My coach told me I can't say ass. Oops. And if you're a little more creative, write a song. Black, 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 black. Write a song. Because we need your help. It's not fair that my mother called me last summer after I got into my car accident. She stayed on the phone with me praying because in her mind, me being in that wrecked car was safer than me walking over to the police who came to help me. Okay, I have to be fair to you guys, all right. She wasn't praying. She was muttering Kendrick Lamar lyrics, but like still powerful though. Today, we have looked at why telling all these people to simmer down is an awful idea. I hope I didn't discourage you from a movement, but inspired you to join something that changes perspectives and can save lives. As for me, I have to get going soon. I promise to do the McDonald's thing again, but I think I have a better cheer. Make change for the better.
Number 10921, Lyric Davis.
Growing up in Blue Springs, Missouri, Missouri, you know, I was surrounded by a lot of, what do they call them? White people. Oh, don't get me wrong, melanin was not a prerequisite for my friendship. It helps, but growing up, I really couldn't be that picky. Now, things started getting a little weird after me and my girl Becky got caught slanging Lunchables after 5th period. You know, our parents got called in and my mama said in front of everybody, Lyric? Now, I do not drive all the way to the Costco's on Sundays for you to be selling these Lunchables. Not even cut me in? Get your ass in the car. Now, Becky's mama went all RuPaul and just dragged her out the office. Needless to say, people were a little worried. But only for me. Y'all mean y'all ready to call Red Cross just because my mother raised her voice? But little pigtail having Becky can get dragged across the quad, but her chicken salad eating mama and nobody blinks. Oh, okay. Well, y'all look at got me a little education courtesy of Blue Springs High School and know that on June 11, 2015, the Root notes that society has this double standard when it comes to black and white parents. See, in everything from media representation to child welfare agencies, America perpetuates the myth of racial disparity in parenting. And it's tearing black families apart. Basically, black people be living, society be judging, and I'm like, not today, society. Not today. We need to stop being hypercritical of black parents. So let's check the causes, effects, and solutions, so by the end of this, we can like the parents and dislike the kids. Except for the cute ones. We can hate the cute ones. You know what all parents do share? A love for timeouts. You got a kid acting a damn fool? Timeout, technical foul, out of bounds, unnecessary roughness, red card, whatever the hell they do in badminton. You're out of here! Just go to your room. Causes. We believe in parenting stereotypes, and we blow up superficial differences. First, we believe in the angry black mama, the deadbeat dad, and some bad children. Thanks, Tyler Perry. But this isn't surprising when we have folks like Ben Carson on November 6, 2015 claim that black-on-black crime only exists because 90% of the black population is born out of wedlock. Wait, Ben. Benny boy. Weren't you born to a single mother? That's the sound of me taking his black car. See, single mom does not mean bad mom. Okay? And some absent fathers does not mean that they're all deadbeats. But if we believed in all stereotypes, then every white mom would be a soccer mom that doesn't work but wears designer clothes, drives around in a big SUV but only got one kid, who talks back to her but she don't know because she on the phone. Come on, Christine! Pay attention to the road! Probably jump in. Next, we blow up superficial differences. Like when folks tell me that Beyonce and I aren't the same person, only because you focus on appearance and singing ability and net worth. We're exactly the same. But when we focus on parents, the superficial difference is in the tone. White parents, Billy, why don't you get into that room and think about what you just did? Please. Black parents, Denise. Oh, y'all thought I was gonna say Laquita, didn't you? Get into that damn room and get right with Jesus, because you ain't coming out until he comes back. Leads people to believe that black parents are whooping their kids way more. But multiple polls from CNN, Slate, and the Digital Journal over the last 5 years show only a 5 to 10% difference in the rates of spanking in black and white families. So, Denise is only 5% more likely to get that ass tapped than Millie. You ever notice how a black mom gets looks for yelling at her kid in public? But a white mom can pull her kid by a leash and everybody acts like that's normal. It's like they take one look at that monkey backpack and think, oh, somebody needs a nap. Oh, somebody's gonna grow up to shoot up a school one day. I'm just kidding, he's just troubled. Blaming the parents and destroying the black family. First, black parents have become scapegoats for problems affecting the black community. Knowing damn well only white people mess with goats. That's why goats are screaming all the time. Hell, I scream too when white people try to touch my hair. Leave me alone! On July 30th of 2015, the Washington Post explains that this deflects blame from the real problems, like structural racism, government policies, and people who say they didn't receive your text. I sent it. So who got it then? Media be like, Tyrone was selling drugs. Where's the parents? They're at home trying to figure it out too. Sharkisha mollywopped someone. Where's the parents? Probably hiding from Sharkisha. Social activists riot and destroy property. Where's the parents? They're at their own rally. Stay woke. But see, we don't see the same blame game in the white community. I don't see nobody asking for the parents when Claire steals earrings from Claire's. No, they just like, ooh, that's ironic. Next, according to a report from the Center of Advanced Studies in Child Welfare in the winter of 2015, yeah, I use Google Scholar. African Americans are 14% of the population. Why didn't you get excited? But they're 26% of the child welfare system. Too soon. It's because under the same circumstances, Black Americans are more likely to get their child taken away than white Americans. Or what? Do white parents have to really try hard to get their child taken away? Do they have to use their kids as snowboards? Oh, I'm sorry, white people. Skis. Even my husband, Will Smith, and his baby mama, Jada, got Child Protective Services called on them after a picture was posted of Willow Smith and a boy. Now, why the hell y'all called the cops on the Fresh Prince? I was trying to make trouble in the neighborhood. It was one little picture. I just whipped my hair. Look, some of these parents ain't the problem. It's the kids. They're gross. They stink. They walk. Some of them breathe. And they so sticky. You ever just throw a kid against the wall and watch them stay there? Try it. Scream and cry, but hell, they do that anyway. Solutions. Fight the policies that split up families and reframe the narrative. First, write to Congress. In March of 2015, the Alliance for Racial Equality and Child Welfare released a comprehensive report examining state-level responses to disproportionate racial outcomes. Okay, listen. Now, I know that you're about as likely to read this report as you are to actually go write Congress. But the only way to fix the system is to get political. Some states like Texas and Minnesota have already introduced some of these reforms. And when's the last time Texas has been ahead of the game on racial equality? So go write Congress. Or give the letter to your mama and have her send it in. Stamps expensive anyway. And if Senate say they didn't get it, well, we sent it, so who got it then? Next, reframe the narrative. Then hang it up on the wall. It will look nice next to your news. Don't act like y'all don't got them. Look, Black parents have enough struggle to deal with. Not every parent is perfect, but that is unrelated to their overall parenting abilities. My parents are first generation college educated. My dad is assistant superintendent and my mom is a network administrator. So everything is great for us right now. But I remember not being able to pay the heat bill, or waiting by the mailbox for the food stamps to come, or seeing the eviction notice and having our church pay the bill. My parents aren't bad parents because they weren't dealt an easy hand. And it is unfair to to criticize and reprimand black parents because of the struggles that they face. Woo! Y'all, no more criticizing black parents for doing nearly the same thing as everybody else. And after looking at the causes, effects, and solutions, maybe next time when you see a parent, go shake that parent's hand. Because being a parent is a satisfying, rewarding, gross, nasty, stinky, just wave.